Welcome back to the DNA Pest Control Podcast. This one's going to be a fun one.
Yes, it is. Back to back.
Back to back. I love it. This is Daniel, and I'm with Aaron.
Thank you.
Yeah. And we have a guest on today. His name is Michael Rogers. He's from Alabama. He messaged me. Sorry, Michael. You can yell at me once we pull you on. But, sorry for not messaging you back sooner. He now has 3 years experience on the job.
Nice.
And he has been, I would assume this is a promotion. Maybe some people look at it as not, but he is a trainer.
It's definitely a promotion.
Oh, absolutely. Michael, you there?
Yes, sir.
Awesome, man. Okay. So let's jump into this. You currently are doing a route in what?
It is audited accounts, basically. Anything that has to deal with food safety, paper mills that produce napkins for restaurants, grain mills where they manufacture and get grain to a finished product that they can ship out. Anything food safety that does not need bugs there. That's what they put me in.
Okay. That is way different than what we do.
Which is a very specified type of route, most definitely. But I mean, pest control is easy. Most definitely.
Yeah. Well, and let's talk about it because you messaged me a year ago, 2 years ago.
Yes.
When you only had a year experience about.
Yep.
So sorry about that. I didn't message
I won't
back.
yell at you. It's fine. I'm just disappointed.
That's even worse. Come on.
No, I understand, bud. If anything, you're getting better answers out of me today than you would have a year ago.
There we go. I like that. So what did you start as, though, when you first came on?
Well, I started at a small mom and pop as a termite inspector. Crawl spaces, trenching for subsoil injections, pre-treats, and popping tops off the Centricon stations.
Oh, okay. Wow. And so, yeah, I mean, we were talking a little bit before. So Alabama, California, very, very different.
Oh, yeah.
How did you get into termites so quick? Did they just have you take a test and you're ready? Like, what's the process there?
In Alabama, I had to go through, Dow has a training program for Centricon that's basically with field training. You also take some online courses. I actually moved. That started in the midst of the shutdowns for COVID. I was working in restaurants and kind of needed a break from that. And a little mom and pop, literally a quarter mile from my house, was hiring, and they were apparently needing some termite techs. So just kind of, sink or swim at that point.
Oh, cool. Okay. So you jumped in over there. Digging trenches probably was not your favorite.
Yeah, that and installing core stations, definitely not my favorite.
Okay. So what made you stick through it?
Well, actually, back in the past, I used to do IT work, and the boss never let me know this at the time that he hired me on, but they were doing paper tickets, the good old-fashioned way, and he wanted to move into, basically a ticketing system and handhelds for the technicians.
Good job.
So after about 9 months, they pulled me into the office to schedule termite renewals and set them up for that service, or set them up for, a digital service.
How old was this guy?
About 58.
Oh, okay. Okay, not too bad.
Yeah, which it didn't. I was the youngest in the office by 30 years, so it made sense to him.
To pull you in and have you do all that. No, but that's cool. That's awesome that he actually jumped on that, because most guys at that age with that company, it's really, really hard to get them to switch to that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it is. And this area is saturated in small mom and pops that are just doing paper tickets. And it was his way of, keeping ties with everything just in case, ag comes down and wants to look at some records. It makes more sense. And a lot of people just don't believe that or think what they're doing is not broken, so they're not going to fix it. But it'll set you apart from other pest control companies for sure.
Oh, that's 100%. That's why we keep changing stuff, because that is, you have to, there's no difference from product. There's no difference in the services. You know, you dig a trench, who's going to dig it better than you? You know, it's really not that crazy, right?
Exactly.
So, okay, that's really cool though. Okay, so you end up going into the office, and then from there, what happened?
I was reached out by a friend that I've known for years that had been working in the commercial sector in a different pest control company. And he was moving to sales, and he needed someone to take over his audited routes. And he's been in pest control for 27 years.
Oh, wow.
So he moved to the sales role, and I moved into the audited route role. Sorry.
Okay, and that's where you are now with the current
yes,
company,
sir.
Correct?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so you left there, you took over his route, and he kind of showed you the ropes before he switched to sales?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I had 2 months of training, hands-on, and, taking modules online and all that. But lots of hands-on stuff because, I mean, I'm a very visual person.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's just how some people are. So, seeing it is a lot different than watching it on a computer.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Did you have to get a different license?
No, actually, in Alabama, you can operate under your manager's license.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. So I'm doing that. I'm studying for my test right now so I can, get at that. But that's not something that a lot of companies press for in Alabama because it's more money for the company to spend.
Yeah. Well,
but it does set you apart as a technician, most definitely, if you go that extra mile and, get your own license.
Yeah, because I'm sure some of the liability falls back on you.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. And so in Alabama, what's the licensing like? How's that structure? Do you know much about it?
There is a lot of different licensing. My boss has a basic one. It's called a HPC.
Mm-hmm.
That's your household pest control, which kind of is just a broad blanket. There's a termite license as well, structural fumigation, which is something that we do. And then ornamental, of course.
Oh,
but it's all sectored into different, licensing.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I always love to ask those questions because it's always interesting to hear how different states structure their pest control.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Are y'all able to operate under a manager's license in California?
No. Well, there, it's a yes and a no. So California, how it works is you have your operator's license. Okay, that's the very top. Your operator's license essentially allows you to have a business. So that's where you could actually start your own business, own your own business. Now, under the operator's license, you would have to have a branch 1, branch 2, or branch 3.
Mm-hmm.
Each branch is different, right? So one branch would be fumigation. The other branch, I think branch 3 is termites. Branch 1 is fumigation. Branch 2 would be structural pest control.
Okay.
Just like your household pest control, right? So the HPC. Below that, there's an applicator's license. So during training, you have to be with someone who has a branch 2 license. But just because you have your branch 2 doesn't mean you have an operator's.
Oh, I see.
It kind of gets funky. So if you want to have your operator's license, you have to have your branch 2 operator's license. But you can just have a branch 2. So they're really weird out here how they structure that. But
wow, that is so different.
Yeah, but an applicator, this is where it kind of gets really funky. An applicator can work under a termite license and a branch 3 license and a branch 2 license. And you can go out on your own. But if you don't have your applicator's license, you cannot be on your own in California. You have to have someone with you.
Well, that's good to keep the technicians, legally responsible.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it does. I mean, well, no, it doesn't. I mean,
no, it doesn't.
they created it to do. I mean, I don't really know or understand it, but it doesn't work as what I think they thought it would do. So it's kind of
okay.
Yeah, it's kind of backwards. But then you have your QAL license, and QAL allows you to spray fields. That's more agricultural, not structure. So you have your structural pest control board, and then you have your QAL or your DPR, and that's going to be all of essentially outside of a structure, fields, rivers, lakes. Now you're starting to get into those away from a structure. So it's kind of weird out here.
Oh God. Yeah. Night and day, bud.
Yeah. Oh, well, even the QAL it's an alphabetical system. So your just because you have a QAL, you still have a category A, B, C, D, E, F, and it just keeps on going. And each category is different. So one category will be mosquitoes. Another one would be water treatment. Another one would be weeds. Another one would be roadways that you could treat. Another one, which I just learned, is roots in a sewer system. Go figure.
Oh.
You need a category for that.
Its own category.
It has its own. They even have their own category for barrels for alcohol. So whiskey barrels, things like that. They have their own category here for that.
Wow.
Yep. So
You just successfully confused every pest control technician in Alabama, my friend.
Oh, in Alabama, I'm sure in all states other than probably Hawaii and New York, they're probably sitting there like, oh yeah, that's pretty, sounds about right.
I'm here and I'm confused.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah. No, yeah, we make it very difficult here, which is good.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Okay, so the licensing, very, very different. So what's some of the things on your route? Because I'm more on the tech side. Aaron's going to be more on the sales side, right? For me, what's intriguing is you're going out to, treat around chickens, or you're treating, food plants. What are you doing in those food plants? Are you even spraying anything, or is it mainly rodenticides to keep control of rats?
There are, I'm sure everybody has a different name for them, but RBS's, rodent bait stations, along the exterior.
Okay.
Those are, rodenticides, put in those containerized stations. And then on the inside, there's mechanical traps, or tin cats, the eaten tin cats.
Okay.
So a lot of that is monitoring. There's a site that I have that has, 223 tin cats on the interior. Just as like, a last resort, but, and with a phone, a handheld, you bend over, open it, shake it out, clean it, make sure it's functioning properly, then scan it in, and you're off to the next one.
Wow.
For all of them.
Have you, there's a product out there that uses a CO2 canister, and it actually shoots them in the head. So it has like
what?
a pole. Yeah. You don't use those on your route?
I wish I did at some places.
Oh yeah.
Who makes that?
I'd have to. I'll look it up. I'll send you a message with the information.
Yeah.
But it's something I've been looking into. I haven't pulled the trigger yet, but apparently it's really awesome, and it'll just massacres rodents. But in that situation, I'm surprised you're not using something like that.
Yeah, that isn't. Which we're kind of, our accounts, they have an APL, or approved product list, which basically ties us to what type of rodenticides, what type of residuals, non-residuals we can use.
Okay.
But there's always a way to talk to the right person and get something approved. But that would definitely be something to try. I'd love to see what that thing actually looks like, because, man, that's a wild thought.
Yeah, it's interesting because you'll put the bait up inside. They have like this, it's a cylinder that they'll kind of go up in and try to get the bait. And when they go up into the bait to get it, I guess there's a sensor, and then the CO2 releases, that piston, and that piston goes into its head, and I guess kills it.
Yeah.
So, but it just does its own thing, so as long as those guys keep going up there trying to get the bait, it just keeps killing and killing and killing and killing.
Wow. So basically just functions as a run that will just kill instead of poison, I guess.
Exactly. So I guess it's a good way to prevent rodenticides or secondary kills or things like that.
Yeah.
And that's what I was saying before, before the podcast, is it's kind of cool that we come out with certain laws and restrictions, because then we get these products on hand where it's
you can adapt.
Yeah. And then you can start seeing, whoa, okay. Like, one little CO2 canister lasts 50 kills.
Yeah.
So it's like you're just going to be killing and killing and killing until it runs out, but you're going to be out there by that time.
Oh, yeah. Which, man, this industry, it'll change tomorrow. There's always new information. There's new tools. That is very interesting, man.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why, in the podcast, I've mentioned it a lot to a lot of people, is this industry is going to always change. It's not going to stay the same. So if you want to get stubborn and think one way is the best way, you're going to be, it's going to be a rude awakening, because you're going to lose a lot of clients, or you're going to be out of business because somebody starts doing something different and they're getting better results. You're gone. Mm-hmm. People are going to fire you. So
yeah, which I don't know how it is over there, but have y'all transitioned? Because my coworkers, the majority of them are younger, in their 30s, don't really have any, what I like to think of them as like old head technicians. Yeah. The ones that's just, I just spray this, it works every time. What does it work on? It works on everything.
Yeah. So you're asking, like, do we have any kind of older techs here?
Or basically just what kind of age technicians y'all have, or does it really matter? Because, you can't lump a bunch of, people that have been in this industry for a really long time as that kind of technician. But it seems like, teaching a dog new, or an old dog new tricks, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sometimes that's more difficult than teaching a new tech.
Yeah, and you're right. And most of the old technicians, or who've been around a long time, have fallen off here. Because you do get into that change, and naturally they're just going to go somewhere where they're comfortable. And so they just leave, which we've had happen. So, because we do have those changes, and if they don't like it, and I've had one, this was before you, Aaron, yeah. Rob, he was a guy that was in the industry 10, 12 years.
Sure.
And we started doing changes. He was running off of paper tickets once we took over the business, and we changed everything. His stress level went through the roof because we were doing different stuff, and he had to learn something new. And I don't think he could handle it, and he left.
Oh, yeah. Man, that's tough. Which, so the company that y'all are working for now, when y'all started at it, it was running paper tickets still?
No. So, because I have two companies now. So I purchased the first company. We were always online. We were always using handheld devices, phones, tablets, things like that. So that never changed. When I took over the second company was around for 30 years. And they were running off of little paper tickets. And that guy happened to work for, this older guy. He was 72 actually, I think.
Oh, so, and hand him a brand new phone and a scanner. Oh man.
That's a
learning curve.
Well, the 72-year-old was the owner that I purchased it from. He was running off of paper tickets. He never saw the system. Now the other guy was probably mid-50s. And yes, going from a paper ticket to a handheld device, now running off of, our software system, that was, I think that was a lot, tougher, because he thought, well, I know my route. I know where to go. I know how to drive to my houses. Mm-hmm. Well, once you get a system in place, I can see the map better than you can memorize it.
Exactly.
So I'm going to route your day better than you think you're going to route your day, unfortunately. And that's where it started. We start butting heads. He's jumping appointments. He's not supposed to. He's adding additional time that it's just not needed. You start butting heads with those guys. So,
man.
Yeah, so here we do have older guys. There's actually two techs that are in their 50s. Maybe one that's even 60.
Yeah, one of them 60.
Yeah, he does not look like 60 or even act like 60. Yeah. Let's be very clear. But they're both new to the industry. So they're not coming in, with that old tech mentality. But I like actually older guys better than the younger guys, because the younger guys...
Oh, well, they're definitely more reliable.
They're more reliable and they're more resourceful. So the older guys, if a piece of equipment breaks, I'm just going to go figure it out. I'll duct tape it together. I'll makeshift something. I'm going to work the rest of the day, and then I'll tell you later.
I actually listened to that episode and brought that up to my boss, and he was like, yeah, we have some people that can do that. We have some people that definitely cannot.
Oh, well, you go into younger generation, they're like, my backpack sprayer stopped working. And I'm like, did you check the battery? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, it's dead. Oh, okay. I'm like,
okay. No, don't get me started. I had to coach someone through changing out O-rings on a B&G the other day. And man, it was like pulling teeth, bud.
Yeah, well, I just had another one. His B&G wouldn't hold pressure. So I said, pull out the cylinder, look at the bottom, push that
Mhm.
bottom seal all the way in if it's loose. Didn't call me for 3-4 hours. And I'm like, well, okay, maybe it worked. I don't know. So I called him back. I'm like, hey, is everything good? He's like, oh yeah, it works now. It works now. I'm like, oh yeah, you're just embarrassed. So,
Oh man, I would be too.
yeah.
It's a tough lesson to learn.
But it's amazing how oblivious some people are, and they won't take the time to look at their equipment. I'm curious. So I'm going to if I'm pulling that B&G out, the cylinder inside, the pump, I'm looking at it while I'm filling it up with water.
Mm-hmm.
I'm interested in how it works. Most people don't even think to look at that. And they're messing with it every day.
Mm-hmm, exactly. And I mean, a B&G is tried and true. I don't know when the B&G actually came out, but it has not changed.
No. And actually, I'll look that up right now for you.
Thank you. Because, I mean, it's insane that is a pillar in, our industry that just is never changing. There's other, compressed sprayers that look similar, but the B&G is the industry standard.
Yeah, and everybody tries to come out with their own little creation, but at the end of the day, it's always the same hand can. It's the same pump. It's everything. Just one's plastic, the other one's metal.
Mm-hmm.
They really can't come up with something new.
Yeah. And one great thing about a B&G is if you take one of those into somewhere, you can get about anywhere with them.
Yeah.
Not that I've ever done it, but I mean, everybody knows that is the tool of pest control. Let him do his business.
That's a good point.
It's almost like a symbol.
Yeah. So here we go. You ready for this? A little history on B&G sprayers.
Let's hear it.
Okay, let's do this. So made in the USA, based in Georgia. I had no idea. I thought B&G was from another country, just like Birchmeier is from like Switzerland or something like that.
Okay.
So let's see. Yeah, well, obviously B&G is the worldwide leader in pest control. Everyone knows it. But it looks like they were, let's see, since 1949. Yeah.
Wow.
That would make a lot of sense. Let's see. I'm trying to see if there was like a specific. Oh my gosh, they have pictures. These are some it literally looks the same.
Really?
Yeah. Same handle, same everything.
Yeah, I feel like I could pick that up and use it.
Yeah.
Just looking at it.
Right. Yeah. It probably works. Yeah. So it looks actually the same. Same concept, same, tin can.
Tried and true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Looks, wow. That's pretty crazy. So
yeah, which, good to know. Good information for a Saturday.
Yeah, right.
Which I actually got. Oh, exactly. Which I got really lucky and found at an antique store. It was a 1920s pesticide applicator, I guess. It's basically a tube with one long rod that basically condenses the air, and it has a small funnel that goes to the bottom where it is a glass jar. And let's see if I can find it. Kills ants, flies, fleas, moths, bed bugs, mosquitoes, and other insects.
What the crap?
And I was talking to the person that owned it, and I'm like, hey, this is really clean. And they're just like, oh, I cleaned it out. And in my head, I'm like, are you okay? Because this has some stuff in it.
The stuff they were probably using, well, maybe DDT was put in it at one point.
Yeah.
The 1920s is even before DDT.
So who even knows? But I might actually have to shop and check on that person today just to make sure everything's fine.
Yeah. Well, you actually, it's funny is I was at a guy's house yesterday and he was asking me, he's like, well, what pesticides are you using? Blah, blah, blah. He's like, I used to be in the industry, and he was going off on all these organophosphates that he used to use.
Oh.
And I looked at him, I'm like, you're lucky, man.
Yeah.
Like, you're lucky.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Because, man, and the worst thing is, we don't know, which they're making chemicals a lot more safe now, but with time, that's when you kind of discover, slight health issues with stuff like that.
Yeah.
But, I mean, this industry has done a lot to kind of protect the technicians and just the people in the environment.
Yeah, which is
because it used to not be that way.
No. And what's really cool when I was at, I think Pest World, and I think I threw it out on one of the podcasts, but they were talking about how they're looking for chemicals that will be engineered specifically for pests. So even if we got stuff on us, or even if we ingested it to a human body, it wouldn't affect us in any way, because it's only meant to
not
kill
even
an
dermally?
insect.
That is insane.
Yeah, they're not there yet, but they're looking really hard to create stuff that is literally specifically just for an insect. So it will kill an insect, but it won't affect us. So
I can't wait for that day. That'll make my lady stop worrying just a little bit.
yeah. Oh yeah. No, I get it. So, I mean, it is really cool to hear, where they're going with that. Okay. So we talked about a little bit about what you're doing. You're using a lot of rodenticides, it sounds like, on some of these plants. Are you allowed to use pesticides?
Yes. Not when production is being ran.
Okay.
But exterior, yes, you are able to. And there are some weekends where the plant shuts down and we can do a structural fumigation or a fogging, a ULV fogging.
Oh, okay. But you're going in with closed air systems and everything, right? The techs?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Just making sure.
Yeah. Which, I mean, it's an expensive treatment, but, I mean, you have to pay for the protection. You have to pay for the safety, chemicals,
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're talking
because there's no need to treat if someone's not, safe.
Yeah. So
that's just liability.
Oh yeah. Well, and so with the chicken meals that you're going to, what are you allowed to do there? Because you're not spraying. There's no way you're spraying around chickens, or are you?
Oh no, most definitely. Which it's a further processing plant, which means it's not a kill plant.
Okay.
It's not where they take the chickens in. It's basically I'm not really quite sure where that facility is, but the chicken gets shipped to them and they process it and send it out to customers. So further processing.
Oh, okay. But when you're there with the chickens alive, this is just like chicken coops. They're essentially producing more chickens.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so is it mainly rodents at these?
Yeah, usually it just kind of depends on which, in my region, these are ran in, I wouldn't call them dilapidated buildings, but definitely there's some structural issues.
Gotcha. Okay.
So that's why IPM just plays a huge role in, protecting these facilities.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I mean, it makes sense. Do rodents kill chickens?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
I would hate to see that or learn about it, but to my knowledge, I'm pretty sure they don't.
Okay.
But I don't know. I've seen some pretty big roof rats. I wouldn't have tried them.
Yeah, well, that's what I was thinking, or the chickens are killing the rats too, I guess.
Oh, yeah, maybe. I'm not entirely sure. That's not something I'd want to see. I might want to get hazards pay for that.
Yeah. Okay, I was going to ask you if you've ever done a residential route, but you did termites. Did you just do general pests as well?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so you know a lot about the residential side just as much as...
Oh, yeah, that's where I got my start, most definitely. Okay. Which it's a whole different devil. It really is.
Oh, okay. Aaron, do you have any questions you wanted to throw at him?
Yeah, about his new role, actually, because we were talking a little bit about before we got on.
Okay.
You said your new role, Michael, you're training now, right?
Yes. So basically in my region, if we get a new hire, which we just got recently, I'm more responsible for doing field training with him. Like he'll come with me on my route. I'll, show him how to do, check a tin cat, something that just someone might have never done before,
sure,
but needs to see. And then kind of just answer any questions they have. Let them do a portion of the work and just kind of ask them along the way. Just, so why did you do it that way? Something like that, just to basically
get them thinking,
connect with them, and kind of educate them in a way where it seems like they're educating themselves, I guess.
No, that's good. That's good. I wanted to talk about it because, I wanted to ask, what would you say was your hardest part or the hardest thing about getting that new hire on?
It honestly varies from person to person. Like we talked about before, just work ethic. I mean, that's a must in pest control. And sadly, not everyone, has that.
Sure.
So, I mean, you can teach a new technician anything, but it's just their ability to learn and them wanting to progress and, actually do a good job. Because I'm not speaking for, who I work with, but there's some people that just want to go out there, spray, get home as soon as possible.
Oh, yeah.
Not looking, not inspecting. And then they wonder why they have callbacks.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, we have it here. I mean, I don't think you can get rid of that.
Oh, no, definitely not.
I like to say on those ones, you use and abuse, right? You're using those guys up because you just need them to go out and get jobs done. They're going to leave soon. It doesn't matter. You're just trying to get them in and out.
What did they call them? Spray jockeys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other day. Yeah.
Just had that. Yeah. I mean, I see that a lot. You do have those types of guys, but yeah, they're not meant to go anywhere. They're meant to stay as a route tech and just get the jobs done.
Mm-hmm. Most definitely.
Michael, was there anything that you wanted to ask us?
Well, I we went on a tangent earlier about the licensing, in California. I was wondering about, cause obviously in Alabama, there's not many restrictions on rodenticide. I know that's a big issue for y'all over there, how y'all have had to adapt to the laws, and the use of Termidor. So what is that like over in California?
Well, so yeah, rodenticides, we are restricted. And we actually talked about it. I talked about it on one of the episodes. I think it's AB 11 something. I don't know. The law that they came out with. That's the title. So anyone listening, you can go back and listen to that. And that explains a little bit more about the rodenticide situation here in California. But to kind of make a long story very short with that is a mountain lion died. They did an autopsy. They found traces of contract in its system.
Oh, contract blood. Oh.
Yep. And so when they
is that the neurotoxin or is that, I'm sorry, I'm blanking. That's not the neurotoxin. That's the anticoagulant, right?
Yeah, that's just the anticoagulant. We can't really use, well, I guess we could. There was some stuff like Talon G was on the market that we could use. And Talon G, there's no antidote for,
Yeah, that's one reason why I'm not a big fan of neurotoxin. I mean, vitamin K, you can get it for animals, pets, even humans.
Yep.
But neurotoxins, I mean, I don't even keep that on my truck. It's just a liability waiting to happen.
Yeah, you're pretty much done at that point. There's no coming back. So that was already pretty much eliminated in most cases here. Contract, that was the last standing because it works so well and it would kill rodents so quickly. But there was no control over how much they were eating, what was going on. And so California and all their geniuses, came together who've never touched a pesticide in their life, decided to create this amazing law that took away contract and a lot of other rodenticides. Now get this is the kicker, away from residential homes, apartment complexes, warehouses, right? Where there's so many mountain lions just like roaming around in residential homes. But you can still use it on orchards, vineyards. You can use it on farms. You can use it where livestock are.
Wow.
Yeah. Really smart.
That is, that's a way to educate right there.
Yeah. So these amazing guys, in all their wisdom, they just came up with this genius plan. And I mean, it's like amazing. They're so smart. They did such a good job.
That's tough, bud.
Yeah. So that's kind of the difference, here is we just have really smart people, smarter than everybody else, So, yeah, anyway, so that's kind of what happened on the rodenticide side is they took that stuff away, but they did allow us to use other rodenticides that are still an anticoagulant. It's vitamin D, and it's just in high doses, but they put a stop feed in it. So, So one that we use here in California, that's a big one. They pretty much own the market out here, so they can charge whatever they want. Is Cilantro. And so Cilantro, it's just vitamin D. Once they hit their lethal dose, they're dead. That could take up to a week, unfortunately, or that could be a couple days, maybe 3 days, 2 days. So it just depends on the rodent. And it's not how it's made is they're not supposed to eat a ton of it. So like you go in and you check a bait box and it's emptied, right?
Yeah.
Well, what we know now is a pregnant female rodent can eat up to 3 contract blocks in one setting. So they could wipe out a bait station, one rat. And so they came out with Cilantro with the stop feed. So a female would start eating, but would stop because they would feel full once the chemical, got into their system. It would make it so, hey, you don't want to eat anymore. You got to go away. And so they'll just take a couple bites, run off, but then they'll come back. Yeah. Eat a couple more, which I'm shocked Contract didn't think of like, hey, maybe we should do this too.
Yeah.
But I'm not over the chemical company, so I don't know. But they did it with Cilantro, and it works. You just have to get a little bit more creative.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to look into that. That's currently, but it's on a approved product list somewhere.
Well, and see, I guess that's kind of the cool thing with California is we're one of the most strict states. So if we have Cilantro here, you definitely have Cilantro.
Oh,
there.
Yeah, we have it there. Yeah, exactly.
Now, it may not be the go-to because why? You have so much, you have so many other products that are better in a sense. So it's kind of why. But in a sensitive area where you do have, possible exposure transfer over into like if chickens are eating rats, right? Well, if they're eating the rats, they're going to have contract in their system, and then we're eating that, right, eventually.
Yeah.
So, it would be good to look into, but I don't know if it's probably the best way to go in your situation.
Is that a soft bait or a block?
It's kind of weird. So,
because those are the only 2 real rodenticides that we use. It's either, the nice old block or it's a 10 to 40 gram soft bait packet.
Yeah. So have you ever had a now and later?
Oh, really?
So, so it's just like a larger version of that. It's wrapped up in a clear plastic. But if you break it, it actually just crumbles into nothing.
It's pretty brittle. Yeah.
Yeah. It's very brittle. So it has to be packaged that way. So you actually just keep it in the plastic and you're just placing it on those poles inside the bait station. So it's kind of it's not a soft bait, but it's also not like a contract block. It's like an in-between mush. It's weird.
Oh, wow. I'm never going to be able to look at now and later. It's the same.
Yeah. No, like I literally opened the box and I'm like, holy crap, this is just now and later is just everywhere.
Yeah.
So that's what we're doing on the rodenticide side. On the Termidor side, I guess what's your specific question? We're just
because y'all have it's February the 28th. Is that when it goes to that window where y'all can't?
No, well, so we're in the window where we can't right now, and I think it is up to I think March 1st. No, it's got to be April. I got to double check this. It's either March or April that we're allowed to use it.
Okay.
So it's only during the summer months, or supposed to be during the summer months where there's less rain. So their idea was, let's prevent it from being used where there's going to be a possible rainstorm the next day and, washing it all into our water system.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So, but they came out with other products like Alpine WSG, which is
that is my favorite transferable. What is it? Neonicotinoid.
Yep.
Yeah. That is my. I wouldn't say my favorite chemical, but I find myself using that quite a bit.
Well, it's such a broad label, and so you're able to use it almost everywhere. You can spray it on a roof. Go figure.
On a roof? I need to review that label.
Yes, you can, which is weird, unless they've updated it since then. But when it first came out, you could literally spray this thing anywhere and everywhere. It's going to be one of those DDT products, I swear. It's like, yeah, you can eat it.
Yeah, exactly. That's why they look like sprinkles, bud.
Yeah. You just throw it on a cupcake, you're good. You're not going to have any lice.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, no, you'll be fine.
Yeah. So, I mean, so Termidor, the restriction is so in California, we have, in pest control, I think everybody says it, label is law.
Yes.
Okay. Well, California, that we love to throw little curveballs at you. So label's law until you have the waterways law. Then the waterways law essentially takes away the label is law because it's not. So if alpine is allowed or bifin is allowed per the label to spray in a specific area on a cement crack, well, the waterways law says yes, but it has to be done this way. So even though the label tells you that way, California says, no, it's this way.
That is, wow. I'm not thankful that I don't have to deal with that, but I had no idea. See, that's why state to state, and especially considering Alabama to California, I mean, that is night and day.
Yeah, you do have, you have a ton of different laws and regulations. So that all comes into effect. But once again, it comes back down to now you just have to be more thorough where you're spraying and how you're spraying. You can still get the same results. You just have to you actually have to use your head. You can't just go spray and
be more aware.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Which that's what we're trying to get away from more and more, this industry, globally.
Yeah, and I think the biggest issue is I actually don't think it's techs necessarily. I do think some techs are the problem, but I think majority of the issue is residents, so residential homes, the consumer, people can just buy products and they're dumping it down the drains. They're causing all these issues and restrictions on us, and we're not doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, which, please correct me if I'm wrong, but IPM started from, I can think of it. It started from farmers, just going out there and dumping chemical. And that's where IPM got started from, because it was like, wow, there's, quite a bit of issues that we're having right now with pesticides.
I wouldn't doubt that. I mean, I talked to, and this is within a decade. I haven't even been doing this for over 10 years. And just within my time, I have talked to techs that would literally spray anywhere from 5 to 10 gallons of product on a property.
Oh.
And they weren't allowed to spray less.
Whoa.
Their managers would go out with them and make sure they're spraying 5 to 10 gallons per property.
And I'm sure that customer loves seeing you just, pound the ground with chemical, but that's where education comes in. And one of the guys said they used to just use Termidor. So Termidor was bifin.
Oh.
So they were spraying homes, the foundation, the lawn. They're literally just spraying Termidor everywhere. So
that's a little terrifying.
Yeah. So, I mean, they've come up with their restrictions and now they're, they're getting a little bit smarter about it. But yeah, so like today we're only spraying a gallon per house, maybe two, depending on the size. So we went from, we didn't do this, but companies went from 5 to 10 gallons now to where we're getting so good. It's only a gallon's needed. 2 gallons are needed, and that's it.
And that's only saving money and time.
Yeah, but that's just the education too.
And also,
yeah, the education of understanding the product, what it does, and what we need, and how much we actually need to use. Yeah. So it's really cool to see that what we came from to today, right?
And you said that was within 10 years?
Well, so when I talked to the guy, we couldn't do that. Termidor was a lot more strict still. We were still allowed to use it all year round, which was interesting. So since I've started, I've seen rodenticides disappear. I've seen Termidor get a lot stricter. And let's see, what else was it? And the waterways law came out right when I started. So they didn't have all those things. So the restrictions just within this last 10 years, I mean, have just gone crazy.
Yeah.
So when I started, you could spray bifin literally anywhere and everywhere. They didn't care. Then the waterways laws came out, which here in California, it's funny. They'll come out with a law, but they won't tell you about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I was still spraying everywhere. And then a guy's like, hey, what are you doing? And I'm like, well, this is what I was taught to do. They're like, no, there's a waterways law. And I'm like, what's that? I never even heard of this before.
Yeah.
And he's like, I got a little thing. I'll send it to you. I got a pamphlet. Let's, I'll let you know about it. I'm like, perfect. Because I had no idea.
Yeah.
So,
which, I mean, you can't help what you don't know, but man.
Yeah. Luckily it wasn't the ag department.
Yeah, exactly.
So I didn't have the ag department, stopping me, but it was that. So I've seen a lot of changes, and it's not, and there's only more to come.
Oh, most definitely.
So,
and I think it's going to extend further out from California over time, most definitely.
Yes, I think so too. I think if they get really good results, so if the rodent population is, we're getting a handle on it with the rodenticides we have, I think other states will start to adopt that.
Oh, yeah, which I saw online. I think it was they were hiring technicians to go to New York and get paid $90K a year to help with the, I believe it was Norway rat infestation.
Yeah,
because man, they have it bad there.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. There's a guy who does a class at Pest World every year, but he's like the rodent god, and cities actually seek him out. Colleges have, to set up a whole system to reduce rodents in that area. So, and it's all IPM. It's to make the garbage cans less, susceptible to rodents getting in, climbing up, things like that. So he goes through and he really redesigns a lot of different things to make it harder for them to live.
See, and I mean, what did my trainer teach me? It's basically how there's 3 pillars for pests, and it's harborage, water, and food sources. And you take away one of those pillars, it's going to get a lot harder for them to reproduce and thrive.
Yep.
So if you can do that on a big setting, oh man, I'm sure he's doing real well.
Oh yeah, no, I'm sure he is. Yeah, he has his little thing. I mean, massive companies come to him and say, "Hey, what do we do? How do we do this?" And he'll go and he studies. He was talking about cities. He went through and he mapped out a whole city and he found areas where there was garbage. And I mean, it was really intriguing to see, like, what is this guy thinking and how is he thinking and handling rodents? And he literally, he just studied them for years, decades. Wow. And so now he's going through and changing cities, which is cool.
Mm-hmm. See, that's one of the issues, or one of the reasons why I want to go to that rodent academy that I've heard y'all talk about multiple times.
Yeah.
Which I feel like that would just be a good way to learn, just kind of hands-on, because, I mean, you see what you see out in the field, but take yourself out of the field and you can learn quite a bit more.
Yeah, you should actually look at the Wildlife Expo.
Ooh.
So that was in South Carolina.
Oh, that's just right up the road and a couple roads, but not far. A lot closer for me than y'all.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. So yeah, I was able to go to that and they talked about rodents. They talked about that device, the CO2 device and things like that. So, I mean, if you're able to go, the knowledge you can gain from this stuff, I mean, it's phenomenal. I mean, I learned a few things out there and we've started implementing them. I mean, from day one, once I got back, and I mean, we're already seeing the reward from that. So it's really cool what you can learn. So we have the West Coast Rodent Academy and then the East Coast. You would probably go to the East Coast Rodent Academy, which I think is in New York, is where they do it. But they do the same thing as they do over here. It's 3 days of essentially immersion. You're getting in it. They're talking to you. You're learning the biology of rodents. You're learning about all different kinds of rodents, control methods. I mean, everything. What to look for, where are the entry points, how to seal stuff up properly. It's really cool.
Yeah, that's something I'm definitely going to have to check out. If I can get the off time for it, I'll do it.
Yeah. No, it's, I mean, what you're going to pull from that, I mean, the company where you're at, they'd be stupid not to send you, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is so helpful in every setting, and what you could bring back and teach now all the other techs is just crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So, was there anything else you wanted to talk about or chat about before we come to a close?
Not anything unless y'all have any ideas.
Okay, I got one question, one last thing. I love to hear it because we always have it with every guest. What is the craziest experience you had when it came to pest control on the job? And it could be anything. Doesn't matter.
Okay. A termite inspection of a crawl space.
Okay.
It was me and the coworker at the time, we would rate crawls 1 to 5, because if you get 12 crawls a day and they're all warns, you're not going to be a happy camper at the end of the day. But this was a 1 out of 5 belly crawl, basically just getting underneath ductwork, kind of digging yourself around. And what I didn't know at the time was that there was a gray rat snake in there. And there was polylaminate on the ground, and I didn't know rat snakes would basically flick their tail on the ground to imitate a rattlesnake.
Oh, okay.
So I'm in there and I just hear kind of like, and I'm just like, okay, there's a pretty good water leak in here. Let me find it. And water leak is not what I found.
Oh, man.
So that was my last stop of the day.
Oh, what did you do when you were down there? Did you just like back up slowly, or did you just go?
Oh, there was no slowly about it. There was no. Yeah, if you could run on your belly, that's essentially what happened.
So that is great. That's awesome. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Wow. So everyone out there doing crawl space work, be careful.
Yes.
Yeah.
Especially with animals underneath there. I just saw a video of someone. I don't know if they were here in California. They could have been, because some of the crawl spaces, if you go up into the mountains, you could walk in them. It's a basement.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Those big tall crawls. Oh yeah. Love them.
And this, I guess they put this board over a crawl space, and they heard this massive banging, and they're like, "Oh, it's a raccoon," And the husband was getting closer, and he's like, "It sounds like a big raccoon." Well, he ends up pulling this. I don't know if they screwed the board in, but the board ended up flying off, and it was a bear. A bear out under, and they booked it out of there.
Yeah.
So that just reminded me of that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm glad I just ran into a rat snake then.
Yeah,
man, I think I might stick to Alabama, bud.
Yeah, you got. I don't think you have bears out there.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, one other thing, and then we'll close it, because I do want to ask this. So for everybody or anybody new, Alabama or even outside, who's going to become a tech or possibly just barely in it, what is something that you would let them know, or a tip or a trick or anything getting into the pest control world? What would you say to them?
Oh, this industry, I mean, it's growing and growing and changing. It's basically, in this industry, you have to have, willpower. You have to want to do the work and want to do the work correctly. And also, just like we've talked most of this time, educating yourself, because that's going to make it so much easier, instead of just being, what is it? A baseboard jockey or something like that. You can get so much from this industry, but you have to want it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that's actually really good.
Yeah.
And to add on to that is, any new technicians don't fall into jumping to one to the next to the next to the next when it comes to the jobs of the industry, because those guys are those guys that are 20 years into it and they're still a route technician. Those are the guys who jumped from company to company to company, and they've literally could list out every company in the state that they've worked for.
Exactly.
So I think I like that. So going on top of yours is definitely stay where you're at too. Be that sponge, soak that information in, and And if you like where you're at, put your head down and grind, because you can grow from that so much. And then even in the future, you know, if it is something you want to start, you know, you want to start a company or you want that later on, you know, that's perfect. You have that information, you have that knowledge, at least on the tech side.
Yeah.
There's still the business side you got to learn, but at least you have that.
Yeah.
So
I wouldn't even call that one half of it, but yeah, definitely helps.
yeah. Oh yeah.
I would be terrified. The business side is something that I'm not acquainted with, which, man, it seems like a whole nother world.
Yeah. And it is, I mean, at least from my experience, jumping into it, you do have your tech side of things, which I learned pretty quickly, and I had to. I was, you know, on my own, and no one was helping me. So it was really trying to figure it out. But the business side is definitely a whole nother beast that you have to pay attention to if you are going to start your own.
Oh, man, most definitely.
So, but thank you so much, Michael, for coming on. We'd love to have you again. So get ready for another message. We'll have you back.
Yeah, we'll check in with you.
Man, I appreciate it. And it was good being here. I really appreciate it, y'all.
Yep. Thank you so much. And you have a good weekend.
Hey, y'all too. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye. Okay. There we go. Michael.
That was Michael from Alabama.
What'd you think?
Cool guy. Yeah. Cool
Yeah.
experiences. I was really interested in how the regulations on pesticides were. You know, because if you're listening, you're from California. If you're doing something with the state, you've probably run into the same thing we run into. It's like, we just get right to the point. What are we allowed to do here? What are we not allowed to do here? Because most of the time, don't spray pesticides, don't put out rodenticides. It's just monitoring. It's just glue boards. You know what I mean? So it was kind of interesting hearing his side of it, working so closely with like food products in the ag department, you know?
Yeah. Well, and you know, the other cool thing is, though, hearing that stuff from him,
Yeah.
and kind of what was getting me thinking is, you know, for Michael, is he's already stepping out of the boundaries of his state, right?
Oh, yeah.
He's not in that one-way track where this is what we have, this is what we use, this is how we do it. He's already looking at California is so restricted. What do they have and what do they do? Because if you're already going on that super restricted side,
Yeah.
by the time it does hit Alabama, because it's going to get there,
Yeah.
they may never get as strict as us, but where we are today, they're going to be there probably in 10 years. They're going to get that strict.
Sure.
We're eventually just going to be running around with sticks.
Yeah.
Right? That's all they're going to allow us to do. We're going to go to a house. We're going to step on all the spiders. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
But these guys are going to get to the point where we're at today. And he's already there. He's
Yeah.
already looking at that. He's already coming up with those ideas.
He's willing to.
So could you imagine a company who's already to that point, and then they pass a law tomorrow, and that company's like, all right,
Done.
we've already been doing it this way.
Just cleaned up the market.
Yeah. So all these guys are scrambling to learn how to change and how to adapt to these products that you've already been using for a decade.
Yeah. And Michael even said, he was like, most of the competition out here is small mom and pop shops. It's like, if they're not, and Michael's cool because it sounds like he's willing to adapt and grow, and you know what I mean? Whatever it's thrown at him, he's going to work with it and figure it out.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the case for all those mom and pop places he was talking about.
No. And I think that's where you get a lot of them that do end up dying, you know, because even with the paper, you know, why I always ask the question, how is it possible you've been around for 30, 40 years and you still only have 400, 500, 600 accounts?
Yeah.
How is that possible? But it's because of the work that's behind it, you know, where a system literally eliminates printing out hundreds of pieces of paper, you know, on a monthly basis with envelopes, you know, so you're going through thousands and thousands of, you know, pieces of paper plus envelopes, stamps, I mean, everything. And now a system comes along and literally wipes that away.
Yeah.
I was talking to a guy in Florida 3 years ago, and he had a termite company, and he had like a staff of 10 people in the office, something like that.
Whoa.
And I'm like, how many techs do you have? And just as many techs as he had in the office. So he was literally going 1-to-1 ratio because there was so much paperwork because he was doing termites.
Oh man.
There was so much paperwork they had to do that he couldn't keep up with it. He had to hire more people in the office just to take care of the paperwork side.
Yeah, like you saying that, I'm trying to think, how many techs would we need to have to justify having 10 office staff? 100? Like,
Maybe, 100.
You know what I mean?
Maybe.
With the systems we have in place, that's like crazy to hear that. Like 10 office staff.
Yeah, probably 10 to 1. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, probably 10 techs to one office person. Or maybe, just depending on what they're doing. But yeah.
But you get my point, though.
Yeah, it's crazy to think about. But that's awesome. But I am glad that he was on. I'm glad that we got to see that experience, especially on the Alabama side. We've had some, if you listened to a year ago, or maybe even 2 years ago, we've did a ton of interviews from New Jersey, Oregon, now Canada, which is cool. So now we're getting different countries even. But it's really awesome to hear those different states, what the regulations are, what they do in certain weather, what are they handling? How are they doing it in a food processing situation to livestock? It's really cool. Yeah. It's really interesting to see that your little world of spraying, Mrs. Smith's, house is like literally a scratch on a piece of paper compared to our market and what we take care of.
Yep.
Really cool to see that. So if anybody wants to be a guest, message us.
Please.
Yep. You can contact us through Instagram, email, go to the website. You can message us. We do have someone on that, so you will get a faster response, I promise. It is in place. Yeah. Sorry, Michael, again. I am going to apologize. I think it was 2 years. I think he messaged me when he only had a year experience.
Yeah.
So he had a lot more, experience underneath his belt now. But message us. Get on. We want to hear from you, different states. It's always cool to hear what you guys are doing out there. So thanks for listening to the DNA Pest Control Podcast.